Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the AEW Dark Elevation review for the 22nd of March 2021. There's going to be a lot of people that aren't a fan of this show. I still think it's better than anything WWE is putting out right now, even though they don't have a ton of name value talent on it. Week by week, yes, WWE has some good matches, but in terms of characters I care about, all three AEW properties matter to me more than WWE properties at this point. That being said, they do put too many matches on this program, and sometimes, actually most of the time, things don't make sense, and many times matches run too long, and there's too many of the matches that are here. So, that being said, let's run through that review. So we open with Ty Conti with -1, defeating Raylan in just under 4.5 minutes. Lynn is a former OVW Women's Champion and gets a hammerlock advantage. And there's a hair pull forearm, and Conti looks a bit annoyed and comes back with some judo moves. They basically brawl a bit. There's a backbreaker that sent Lynn to the floor. Conti then sends her into the ring post. I don't think we need to go to the floor or the ring post in the first match of any program. Conti goes for a move from the top rope. Lynn dodges, gets out of the way, and hits a pump kick. And after a running knee into the corner, Conti wins with a hammerlock DDT and continues to get better. I will openly admit I was wrong about her, and her improvements have been good. She faces off on Wednesday night with Nyla Rose, and I would prefer her winning over Rose by far. Lee Johnson with Dustin Rhodes defeating Adam Priest in 5 3/4 minutes. Good mat wrestling early, and then some arm drags by Johnson. There's an offer of a leg handshake. Priest doesn't really belong. I don't really get where his draw is. And the roster is overbloated. They could let him go, and it's not that big a deal. Priest basically ties Johnson's arms and turns him basically into a human pretzel and turns into a neckbreaker for near fall, Inzaguri, and a German suplex. Grabbing another near fall, Johnson counters with a second German suplex attempt, and a neckbreaker follows with a pair of clotheslines. Priest then goes to the floor. Johnson follows with a tope dive. Back in the ring, Johnson finishes off the match with a fisherman buster into his knee, and that is called the Brain Dog. Dumb name for move. Perfectly fine move. Varsity Blondes, team I love. Fuego del Sol and Jake St. Patrick. Why they need to be in squash matches, I don't understand. Lots of double team moves by the Blondes, and they almost feel like a modern day Hollywood Blondes meet the Midnight Express meet, I guess, early Rockers. Like, there's a lot of good tag synergy here. Not that they're at that level of experience, but the energy of those types of teams is there in them in a very fundamental and early way. So St. Patrick escapes a crab and gets tagged to Del Sol. Del Sol hits the spinning DDT on Pillman Jr. Don't like that. Pillman Jr. should be more protective than taking big moves, at least in my opinion, but I'm partial because he's second generation, and automatically that jumps him ahead. Pillman rolls out of the ring. Garrison comes in, hits a forearm, and then covers Del Sol for the win. Varsity Blondes have a lot of potential, and I'd love to see them challenge for the tag belts at some point soon once they're off the Bucks, because I don't think the Bucks have what it takes to get the best match possible out of them. If TR does, I think even Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy might, but I don't think the Bucks do. Max Caster and Ryzen. I like Max Caster. I don't get Ryzen, and the fact that this goes 6.5 minutes to me is just dumb. There's a pre-match rap. He is getting better and better with those. I wish the character was going somewhere more meaningful. I also wish they were thinking about keeping him as a single because I think the team aspect actually holds him back. Ryzen is some sort of minister according to the commentary team, which is just kind of bizarre to me. If you're going to mention that, then he should be playing with it somehow. I know a lot of places don't want to do religion, but have fun with it. Make him different. Anyway, so basically, Caster's knee gets injured with a drop kick. Caster makes a comeback, hits a lariat, and we are good to go. Ryzen doesn't really get that many advantages, but he goes back to the knee, and Ryzen works the arm. Ryzen goes to the ropes for a middle rope moonsault, but hits nothing. Caster goes back to the arm, and there's a suplex or attempt by Caster, but his leg gives out, and then Caster gets a quick brainbuster, and then I don't think that's the finish you go for when his leg's been worked, but anyway. Then there's a top rope elbow for the win. I like the match. I don't like the story of Caster coming back as though he's not injured. That just didn't make sense. Rising Star Profile Red Velvet. Basically, we learned that Velvet's dad was a boxer. She trained to be a dancer. She falls in love with wrestling when she's 9 years old, starts training about 6 or so years ago. Cody Rhodes said that she's not completely signed. She's improved a lot since first being on Dark. And I don't know. Velvet to me was the wrong person to put in the match with Cody and Shaq, but they see something I don't see, and that's fine. Big Swole and Red Velvet defeat Leva Bates and Maddie Renzlowski. Not a fan of this. Leva Bates has been wasted by this company all the way around, and that continues here. Swole and Velvet come out to Swole's theme. They dance a bit. Velvet and Leva exchange arm drags. Velvet is okay. The timing between Bates is off. I think Bates has honestly lost her mojo. I haven't seen her look good in AEW in a long time, and I've seen her have much better matches. It's just sad to watch her kind of fall down. But again, if there's money to be made and you're signed, or you might be signed, then I guess you go with it. Randrowski tags in. There's an eye poke and a clothesline. Swole gets tagged and works over Randrowski from near fall after a facebuster. Randrowski and Bates did not get on well as a team. They disagree on what they should be doing. Randrowski hits Bates with her book. Velvet then overwhelms her, hits a spinning hook kick, just desserts, and that's a shotgun drop kick for those that don't know, for the pin and win. Post-match, Nyla Rose, Vicky Guerrero, and Jade Cargill come out. I guess that means that Cargill's with Vicky now. That's a step backwards for her. There's a stare down with Swole and Velvet. Maybe they're getting a story out of that, apparently. Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs with Hook defeat Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs in 3.5 minutes. Starks could use more time. Hobbs could use more time. Some of these other matches could use less time. Hobbs goes after Nelson in the corner. Nelson comes back and jumps off the middle rope. Hobbs destroys people and kind of can't keep his facials well. That's going to hurt him in the long run unless you're kind of trying to do a kind of a psycho gimmick. Anyway, Starks gets a tagging advantage, and hits a forearm. Isaacs hits a stunner. Nelson comes off the top of the crossbody for near fall. Hobbs breaks up the pin attempt. Delivers a spine buster on Isaacs. And Hook trips up one of their opponents. Starks uses the Rochambeau. Finishes him off. And I don't know. This was not the best use of them. Denny Limelight defeats Baron Black. Baron Black's the guy they could get rid of, and I don't imagine anyone would care. Match was fine, but completely plain. Black goes for a Texas Cloverleaf. Limelight makes it to the ropes. Match goes to the floor. Limelight hits a spinning double stomp to the back, and Limelight gets a win via a submission with a rear naked choke. That's all about knowing your size. I love Danny Limelight. I think he's one of the better talents that's been underdiscovered in AEW thus far, but him doing a submission via a MMA type move to me is incredible. They need to tell a different story with him for that to be credible. Orange Cassidy defeats Ryan Nemeth in just under 7 minutes. This is too long. Cassidy, who's been on Dynamite, had an angle with Jericho, has dropped down the card as a result. That waste of him, and with Chuck Taylor, who honestly, I would start a GoFundMe campaign for someone to buy out his AEW contract. Chuck Taylor, there is no redeeming value. Anyway, regardless, Nemeth was Rookie of the Year 11 years ago in OVW, which is just weird. Cassidy does his deal. He goes for the orange punch. Nemeth catches him and back suplexes him. Takes advantage pretty easily. Cassidy then sold the offense like it didn't really matter. Most of this is just kind of wasting time and hip gyrations. Cassidy comes back. Crossbody. Nemeth gets his heat back and then goes for a hammerlock. And yeah, well, that doesn't fit either. Anyway, Cassidy escapes and walked into a drop kick and then comes back with a tornado DDT. Nemeth counters a diving DDT with a drop kick and then hits a DDT for near fall. Too many DDTs for my specific liking. Then we see Cassidy come back, hits a catches him in the mousetrap, and Cassidy gets a win. Nemeth has a lot more talent than he's being allowed to show in this particular match, but he did what he needed to do for Cassidy, who's kind of somewhere in the star range. Anyway, Ethan Page defeats Alan Angels of the Dark Order in 7 minutes. Why did this need to go this long, please? I don't get it. So, Page hits a backbreaker out of an underarm suplex, which if you've never seen before is well done. Angels gets a comeback, goes for near fall with a standing sliced bread. Page comes back with a tilt-a-whirl slam for near fall. Angels escapes, gets nailed with a clothesline, and then the Ego's Edge, otherwise known as a Crucifix Powerbomb or Razor's Edge by Ethan Page, and then he gets his second win. Kind of a bad deal for Page. He kind of cuts a non-sequential promo, and they've taken the shine off him just a bit here. Then we go to the main event. I'm not quite sure why these women are your main event, but it is what it is. 8 minutes. Ryo Mizunami defeats Layla Hirsch. Shivani calls Hirsch's boots shooter boots, what makes them that. And then Hirsch basically ignores some chops, follows up with a bunch more. Mizunami goes to the rope, her rope pulling taunt. Hirsch clotheslines her from behind. Mizunami only gets a 2 count, and Hirsch mounts a comeback with some headbutts and clotheslines in the corner. There's some suplexes. She rolls into a cross arm breaker, but Mizunami did not let her cinch it in. Hirsch works her over with forearms in the corner, and Mizunami comes back with a hard lariat. Hirsch comes back with some lariats of her own, but charges into the lariat by Mizunami, and then there's a leg drop for near fall. Mizunami goes for a head and arm triangle. Hirsch counters into an armbar, and Mizunami hits a power bomb. Hirsch comes back with a clothesline for near fall. Angle slam from Hirsch gets another near fall, and then Mizunami counters into a head and arm triangle for the tap out victory. I'm not a fan of putting over these Japanese women unless they're contracted. Other than that, I think it's stupid, but this is Kenny Omega's land, where all the Japanese women are treated like stars because we want Dave Meltzer to pat us on the head and say, good job. Oy. Anyway, this is the close of this program. We'll be back with the Raw review, and Raw was, in fact, worse than this show. So, anyway, until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your head in the moment.